Hi everyone, Melissa here. Just a few things before we get started, as today is a very different video for me. I'm actually talking about a product called VersaFine Clair. I am a design team member for Imagine, or an artist in residence as they like to say, and I have been given free product. However, I do talk about VersaFine Clair because I love it. And so that's the first thing I want to say. 2, ignored my hair. I just came from work and makeup. I look terrible in this video. And 3, I know I really need a manicure. Hope you enjoy.
Hi everyone, Melissa here, and I'm jumping on camera today. I think I'm a little washed out because of the bright light in my craft area, but I want to use this because I'm going to be taking you into my craft area in a minute, because Imagine and Tsukineko are releasing a new product today, and you're familiar with their inks already. They sell the VersaMagic and the VersaFine and a number of other Memento, and as a Copic user, you know that I'm often using Memento ink for stamping before I color with my Copics, and for every sentiment I stamp I always reach for VersaFine, and for some pretty inks I use Delicata. So there's a number of inks that you're already familiar with, but they are coming out with a new one today, and today's release day, and I'm super excited because they are coming out with this VersaFine Clair. And I'm going to show you in my craft area a little bit about what these inks do and how they work, but I want to tell you, this color right here, Nocturne, it's a black pigment ink. You're going to love it. It stamps so clean and so clear. It is my go-to ink now for any kind of my sentiment stamping. You can watercolor with this and it won't run. So why don't we go into my craft area, and I will pull out some of the different colors that I have and show you how awesome it is, and then you can head over to the Imagine blog and check out some more information about these cool inks. See you soon. Okay everyone, I'm back, and let's talk about colors first. They come in 24 gorgeous, vibrant colors. There's a number of different green colors, a number of pinkish, purpley reds. There's a number of pretty blues and turquoises, as well as the Nocturne and the Pinecone. The Pinecone is a brown color and the Nocturne is the black. And this has become my favorite black ink. So what I'm going to do is I want to do some stamping for you. First, let's just stamp the 8 colors that I have here, and I'm going to take this little stamp. This is an old Simon Says stamp set called Circle of Friends, and I am going to use the little honeycomb pattern because I think that's a good stamp to kind of show you how well these stamp kind of solid stamps. And you can actually see how pretty they come out, and we'll do them in every color. So let's just start with the Nocturne, since that is one of the ones that I think is the prettiest. And I will, oh, actually, this is one of the good things about these. They have kind of a sealed lid. It's unlike any of the other inks that I've seen in that this is pretty airtight, so your inks are not going to dry out. I really like that. You can see that with just a few stamps you get really nice even coverage, and then when I stamp I get this really nice clean, crisp, clear stamp image that I am in love with. So let me zoom in so you can see how beautiful that is. Look at that. Isn't that gorgeous? I love it. And typically what I do with my stamps is I just stamp them on another sheet of paper to clean them off. That typically works well for me. You can use a baby wipe, but it's really not necessary. So just stamp it off, clean the stamp, it's fine. Ready to go for the next color. So Nocturne, look how beautiful that black is. Now it does lighten up a little bit as it dries, so that's just something for you to know, but it is a very beautiful dark black color. I love it. Okay, so let's go ahead and move on to the Pinecone. This is a really pretty rich brown color. Again, inks up with just a few stamps. Actually, I do see that I didn't get a very good coverage there. And again, just stamp on your paper. Look how beautiful. I just love it. I love the coverage of these. It's like everything you love about VersaFine Clair and more. I mean, everything you love about VersaFine, I should say, and more. The really cool thing is, you know, I'm sitting here talking to you, I'm cleaning off my stamps. If I would go back to the black Nocturne now and put embossing powder on it, it'll actually take the embossing powder still. Even though it's dry, you can see that it's not going to smear on you. It's dried. You can still put embossing powder, and we'll try and do that technique in a minute here too, but let's get through the colors. So Nocturne, Pinecone. Let's go ahead and look at Monarch. Scoot these over a little bit. Monarch is the purple color. Oops. Oh man, this purple is gorgeous. I just love the colors that these inks come out in. The blue Paradise I'll do next. Ugh, it's probably one of my favorite blue inks. Look at that. Look how rich and beautiful that is. It's kind of hard, like I said, I'm a little bit washed out right now because of the sunlight that is coming through my window by my craft area. But that purple color, it's almost like a really rich, dark eggplant color. It's beautiful. Okay, so that's Monarch. Let's go ahead and do the Paradise, because I think this, out of all the colors that I have, aside from Nocturne, is probably my favorite color. So this is Paradise. Whoops. This is Paradise here. So, ink up my stamp. Paradise. Look at that color. Oh, I just love it. It's such a pretty kind of, it's almost like a royal blue, but there's something more special about it than just calling it a royal blue color. I think Paradise is probably a perfect description. Okay, so that's Paradise. Let's do Warm Breeze, which is a pretty turquoise color and seems to be a fairly popular color now in card making and stamping and scrapbooking. That's Warm Breeze, kind of a tropical turquoisey color. Again, beautiful. And I feel like the colors are very unique as opposed to some of the other colors that are out on the market. Let's do Purple Delight. So this is kind of the eggplant purple that I talked about, the Monarch. Let's do the Purple Delight, which is more of a, I guess more of a bright purple, as opposed to kind of the eggplant purple. Oh, it's so pretty. And again, look at the coverage from these. I mean, there's no stamping mistakes that I'm making, just because the ink sticks to the stamp so well and stamps so perfectly that it's just really a wonderful ink. I can't get over how clean it stamps. And I'm telling you, I reach for these now every time I want to stamp a sentiment, because, and I'll show you a sentiment, because truly they stamp so well. Okay, the next color is the Charming Pink. I really like this color. It's a very pretty pink. So let's move this down a little bit. Charming Pink. Oh, isn't that pretty? That's more like a, it's almost like a bright fuchsia color. And then the last is Glamorous, and this is a red. And I'm so happy to have a really pretty red ink. I like the Memento Ladybug ink, but Memento ink for stamping sentiments is never my favorite. Usually VersaFine is. But this Glamorous VersaFine Clair will be my new sentiment stamping. And stamping for other things too. You have a large area that you want a nice clean stamp. This is what you're going to want to use. Okay, so those are the 8 colors that I currently have. Again, they're beautiful. Over on the Imagine YouTube channel, you can see all 24 colors stamped. Beautiful. You'll have to do it. But let me stamp for you a sentiment. This is just, this paper I'm stamping on, this is just probably Nina, the Solar Crest paper. So you don't need fancy paper. It stamps really well on any paper that I've tried, and I've tried the Hammer Mill cover copy. That's usually what I color on, as well as the Nina Solar Crest. So let me just get my sentiment stamp out. I'm going to be using this Whimsy stamp set. This is called Happy Headlines. There's a number of adorable sentiments in there. And I want to take one that has, I'm going to think I'll use this big one because it has some very fine lettering as well, something large. And then I'll also try the thanks, so you can see both of those stamped. I really love the inks that Tsukineko puts out. I think they're beautiful, and you know, I use them all the time. But I will have to say, this might be one of my favorite inks now from them, mostly because it stamps so well and so clear that, I mean, it's just really, really gorgeous. So I'm going to take the Nocturne, since most of my sentiment stamping is in black, and just show you. So I ink that up, and then I'll go ahead and stamp it here. Look at, I mean, I can't, every time I stamp with it, I almost can't believe how clean it looks. Isn't that beautiful? It sticks to the stamp so well. This is a stamp I've not even used yet. So, you know, sometimes when you first start using your clear stamps, occasionally the ink will bead up on them. Yeah, this doesn't happen with the VersaFine Clair. It sticks so well to the stamps and so well to the paper, and it dries fairly fast as well. I like Versa Magic ink too for doing some sentiment stamping, but you know, you have to wait for that to dry quite a bit. This, you don't have to. It dries pretty fast. I showed you with that black circle. Now let's go ahead and ink up this larger one, and I did this one because the letters on this are fairly thick, so oftentimes when I will stamp sentiments like this, you know, the thanks might not ink that well. So let's see, and I can see, let's see what happens here, because yeah, this one didn't ink as well. Again, this is a stamp I haven't used yet, so I'm gonna stamp it twice. It could be more of the stamp than the ink itself. You can see there is some areas that didn't stamp well. So let's stamp that one again. I mean, you know, that happens, so let's see. Let's try stamping it again. Now that it's been stamped once, usually the ink will adhere better to the stamp. There we go. Yep, and I got a cleaner stamp that time. But you can see, look at how this small enough to express my gratitude. Look how clean that looks. That to me is really, really amazing. VersaFine does a pretty good job as well, but there's a difference between that and the Clair. So let me show you the embossing now. So these have been stamped for a while, and I tested out the embossing when I first got the inks. So let me grab some embossing powder, and I'm just going to grab the embossing powder, the clear Imagine embossing powder, and I'll grab a sheet of paper just to have the embossing powder go in, and I'm going to cover all of these stamps that I did with embossing powder. And we're going to see, you know, after all this time inking and such, we're going to see how much coverage I get. And I'm going to take the embossing powder so that it covers these sentiments too. So you can see, you can see that every single one of them actually got covered with the embossing powder. I'm sorry, but that's crazy. And they didn't smear. I showed you with the black, let me get this out of my way. I showed you with the black embossing powder that it didn't smear. Or, I'm sorry, I showed you with the black ink, the Nocturne color, that it didn't smear. So you would think that you wouldn't be able to emboss, but you actually can. So you can see how, pull this away, you can see how those colors look faded now because of the embossing powder. Let me go ahead and go over it with my heat tool. And I rubbed a little bit of that embossing powder off of the black, unfortunately. Let me get this heat up a bit. And you can see it's embossing it. I'm shocked about how long actually it can emboss after it feels dry. And I think that's a really cool property of this ink. And I will tell you that it's going to work really well for mixed media projects because you'll be able to do a lot of stamping and then go back and heat emboss. I mean, all of these are getting coverage. Even that black one, which it's not getting full coverage, it's still getting, you know, it's still getting ink. And again, let's go over these sentiments that we stamped. You know, this is almost a full coverage on these since they were so recent. I mean, you know, that is actually pretty amazing. A pretty amazing property of these inks. I really do like them. And you know, anyone who's watched my YouTube video, I will tell you what I don't like. For instance, foam tape. I can't stand the foam tape that I currently have. I have to get new because people tell me it's actually not the foam tape, it's just the foam tape that I have. So you know that I'm going to tell you if I like something, and I really, 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 really like this VersaFine Clair. I think it's an amazing ink. I think it has some cool properties that are going to help you in mixed media and stamping and card making. I mean, sometimes just getting a clean sentiment when you stamp is important. For me, I will color a whole image and then I want to stamp a sentiment, and I'm always terrified because if I spend all the time coloring and then I end up with a sentiment that's blurry, it makes me really, really mad. And let me show you. Here's an example of a card that I did. I colored all up, and then in the end I wanted to stamp a sentiment. And it's a little bit hard to see. I can zoom in here. But once I color a scene, I'm always really worried that I'm going to mess it up by stamping. I don't worry so much anymore because of the VersaFine Clair. So you guys really need to try this out yourselves, and I promise you that you're going to love it, especially the Nocturne. It's probably my favorite. I think this can replace your VersaFine, even though VersaFine has its place, I think, in your collection. This is going to be, this is it. This is what you're going to want to use. I love it. Again, clear, embossed after quite a while. Each of those have been embossed. You can see they're shiny. So I highly recommend VersaFine Clair.